chosen one, listen closely. You are not here by coincidence. Heaven has aligned this moment with perfect precision, drawing you into a divine appointment. Anointed one, you are standing at the threshold of a supernatural shift, a financial breakthrough and wealth transfer. Heaven has already begun to release. What you are feeling right now is spiritual acceleration, not imagination. For the Lord who keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, and he has set his eyes on you. Open your spirit. This is a prophetic declaration, a holy summons. What is about to unfold is meant for you, and only you. Chosen one, hear me. What you're stepping into right now is not ordinary. It's not casual. This moment has weight in the spirit. If your heart feels stirred, if something in you sits up straight as these words reach you, it's because heaven is leaning over your life with intention. The anointed one within you is awakening. The atmosphere around your destiny is shifting. And even if everything in your natural life looks routine or even chaotic, something divine is already in motion beneath the surface. I want you to pause for a second and feel this truth. You have survived things you never told anyone about. You've endured storms that broke people who had more support than you did. You've held on with nothing but a whisper of faith when others around you had entire choirs singing encouragement over their lives. But you, chosen one, kept going. And because of that, heaven is responding. Nothing in your journey has been wasted. Not the heartbreaks, not the nights you cried quietly into your pillow because you didn't want the world to see you bleed. Not the moments you questioned if God still remembered you. I've lived long enough and walked deep enough with God to understand something: the battles of the chosen are rarely fair, rarely gentle, and rarely quick. But they are always purposeful. I remember seasons where everything around me felt barren, financially, emotionally, spiritually. I kept asking God, is this really the path? Is this struggle part of the shape you're forming in me? And every single time looking back, I realized he was sharpening me, stretching me, preparing me. And he's doing the same with you right now. You see, chosen one, the pressure you're feeling is not punishment, it's positioning. The resistance around you is not rejection, it's redirection. I know that sounds simple, but you won't understand how true it is until the moment you finally step into the place heaven has been preparing you for. The wilderness you've been walking through wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to strip away everything that cannot follow you into your next level. The loneliness, the betrayals, the delays, these were divine chisels, sculpting your spirit for something bigger than you've imagined. And listen, because this is where your story begins to turn. You are on the brink of a supernatural shift. Not next year, not someday, now. Heaven has begun arranging a divine transfer, spiritually, financially, and directionally, and your spirit can already sense the tremors. There's a reason you've been feeling restless in your routine. There's a reason your spirit has been nudging you to pay attention, to look deeper, to listen more closely. You are detecting movement in the unseen realm. Chosen ones feel the shift before the shift arrives. You might not see any evidence yet. Your bank account might not show it. Your environment may still feel the same. Your life might still look normal. But in the spirit, the script has already changed. Heaven writes the breakthrough long before earth sees it. And the instructions God is releasing in this season are for those who have ears to hear, hearts to perceive, and spirits that do not sleep. That's why this message found you. That's why you didn't scroll away. Your spirit recognized itself being called. Let me talk to you plainly. There are seasons in life when God whispers, and then there are seasons when God directs. Whispers guide you, directions shift you. You are stepping into a season of divine direction, God-ordained steps, God-timed opportunities, God-sent people, and God-protected doors. This isn't motivation, this is movement. I know what divine direction feels like. I've lived through seasons where God told me to move when nothing made sense. I left jobs without guarantees, walked away from relationships that were comfortable but not aligned, stepped into unfamiliar places with nothing but a word. And every single time I saw how God was already waiting on the other side of my obedience. That same pattern is unfolding over your life. Chosen one, hear this in your spirit. You are being prepared for elevation that will require courage, clarity, and surrender. That's why things have felt tight. That's why the old environment has been losing its grip on you. When God is about to elevate you, He first disconnects you from anything that would suffocate your next season. Not because those people or places are bad, but because they do not fit the architecture of where He's taking you. You are being shaped for the miraculous, for the supernatural, for a level of purpose that demands a different version of you, the real you, not the version life forced you to be. You've carried burdens that taught you how to endure. You've walked through darkness that taught you how to see. You've survived storms that taught you how to listen. You are not stepping into your next chapter empty-handed. You are entering equipped. And let me tell you something deeply prophetic. God is not just preparing opportunities for you. He is preparing you for the opportunities. The preparation can feel brutal, but it is holy. The stretching can feel unfair, but it is divine. Every sacrifice you've made, especially the ones nobody saw, has been counted. There is a financial shift coming. There is a directional shift coming. There is a spiritual shift coming, and you are not being invited to watch it. You are being positioned to walk into it. Chosen one, this is only the beginning. Chosen one, as we move deeper into this word, I need you to understand something with absolute clarity. Your life has not been ordinary because your calling is not ordinary. The weight you've carried wasn't random. The obstacles you've faced weren't accidental. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour was part of a supernatural curriculum designed specifically for your elevation. The anointed one in you has been trained in silence, refined in hardship, and awakened through pressure. And now heaven is pulling you into alignment with a divine pattern that has been unfolding long before you ever realized it. There is a reason the past season felt heavy. You were not just surviving, you were being sculpted. God was trimming, pruning, reshaping, and rerouting you, not because you were broken, but because you were chosen. There is a difference between being wounded and being woven, and many of the things you thought were wounds were actually God weaving new strength into your spirit. Your sensitivity, your empathy, your intuition, your relentless hope, your ability to endure these traits weren't weaknesses. They were markers of divine selection. Let me speak to the part of you that has felt overlooked. Chosen one. Your isolation was never abandonment. It was insulation. God kept you hidden, set apart, removed from the noise, not to punish you, but to protect you. Had He exposed you too early, the weight of your assignment would have crushed you. Had He opened certain doors prematurely, the wrong people would have gained access to your destiny. Heaven was guarding you even when you felt forgotten. And the fact that you are hearing this now means your season of concealment is ending. The reveal is near. But before elevation comes direction, and God is releasing direction to His chosen ones in this hour. You have felt it, haven't you, that whisper in your spirit, telling you that something must change. That nudge pushing you to pray more, to listen more, to detach from distractions, to step outside of your comfort zone. The divine instructions that come in transition seasons rarely make sense in the moment. I can personally testify to this. There were times God told me to move when every part of my logic screamed, "Stay." Times He told me to release something my flesh wanted to cling to. times, he asked me to walk by faith when sight offered no reassurance. But every time I obeyed, I entered into a level of peace, provision, and purpose I couldn't have imagined on my own. You are in that same season. Heaven is giving direction because your next chapter is too important to navigate blindly. This is not time to guess. This is not time to wander. This is not time to be indecisive. There are instructions being whispered into your spirit, some subtle, some strong. You may feel guided to relocate, change environments, shift relationships, or step into something unfamiliar. You may sense the urge to start something new, leave what's draining you, or pursue what keeps stirring in your heart. These are not random thoughts. They are divine prompts. Chosen one. When God begins to move you, everything inside you will feel like it's being rearranged. Your appetite changes. Your tolerance changes. Your desires shift. The things you once ran after no longer satisfy you. The places you once felt comfortable no longer fit. You are outgrowing old versions of yourself. You are shedding what cannot come with you. And I know it feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the birthplace of direction. Listen closely. Heaven does not release direction where there is no destiny. God only gives instructions to those he is about to elevate. You are receiving clarity because something is opening for you. Something is aligning. Something is breaking loose in the spirit. You have been sensing that a new season is near, not because of external signs, but because your inward knowing has been activated. Your spirit knows what your eyes have not yet seen. Let me take you deeper. There are divine appointments ahead, people you are meant to meet, environments you are meant to enter, opportunities you are meant to seize. These are not ordinary connections. They are destiny intersections. God is placing the right voices, the right helpers, the right alignments on your path. You won't have to force them. You won't have to beg for them. You won't have to chase them. When heaven orchestrates alignment, it flows. It confirms itself. It brings peace, not confusion, assurance, not anxiety. This is why the warfare has intensified. The enemy always fights hardest when a chosen one is moving closer to their assignment. Confusion tries to creep in, fear tries to whisper, doubt tries to choke your confidence. The enemy knows your next step has power. He knows your obedience triggers breakthrough. He knows your alignment unlocks blessings. That's why the pressure increased. That's why unexpected problems came. The closer you get to the promise, the louder the opposition becomes. But hear me, opposition is not a sign to stop. It is confirmation that you are close, very close. There is something else. God is doing something many of his chosen ones don't initially recognize. He is preparing you for a financial shift. Not a random blessing, not a lucky moment, a divine transfer, a supernatural reallocation of resources that heaven intends to place in the hands of those who will steward it with integrity. The anointed ones who have endured stripping, pruning, and refining are now being positioned to receive increase. Why? Because they have learned not to worship the blessing, but the one who gives it. You are entering a season where obedience and direction will unlock provision. God is not just sending wealth. He is sending strategy. He is sending clarity. He is sending ideas, insights, and open doors. Financial elevation begins in the spirit before it appears in the account. Chosen one. The stirring you feel is not your imagination. It is your spirit recognizing that instructions are being released. Your next step matters, and heaven is guiding you into it. Chosen one, lean in even closer now, because what I'm about to share carries weight. There are moments in your life when God speaks gently, and then there are moments when God speaks with a pull, a tug, a divine insistence that you can feel in your bones. This is one of those moments. Your spirit already knows it. Something in you has been stirring, not anxiety, not confusion, but divine anticipation. You can feel change drawing near like the air shifting before a storm, and that spiritual sensitivity is not random. It is evidence that heaven is guiding your steps more intentionally than ever before. Let me tell you something I've learned from walking through my own wilderness seasons. There were years when I kept asking God why the ground around me felt dry, why opportunities kept slipping through my fingers, why it seemed like I was walking forward but somehow not moving. I didn't understand it at the time, but now I see it so clearly. God dries up the wrong places so you won't plant roots where you don't belong. The discomfort you feel today is divine redirection. The lack you feel is a signal. The shift of your desires is heaven pulling you toward a path you didn't know existed. Chosen one. The reason certain doors closed had nothing to do with your worth. The reason some relationships fell away had nothing to do with your value. The reason opportunities collapsed had nothing to do with your ability. It was God's protection. It was God's filtering. It was God's mercy. You prayed for purpose, and purpose requires pruning. You prayed for breakthrough, and breakthrough requires clearing the old ground. You prayed for destiny, and destiny requires that everything not aligned with your future be removed gently if possible, forcefully if necessary. You might feel like you've been stripped, but in truth you've been shaped. You might feel like you've been emptied, but in truth you've been prepared. And now God is beginning to whisper directions, not suggestions, but directions, because the next place He is leading you to will require obedience, clarity, and courage. This is not a season for hesitation. This is not a time for doubt. This is a time for alignment. I can't tell you how many times I sensed God pulling me in a direction that didn't make logical sense. Sometimes it was a move, sometimes it was a job change, sometimes it was silence when my flesh wanted to speak. Other times it was to walk away from something that felt good but wasn't God. Looking back, every instruction protected me, every nudge positioned me, every whisper shaped me, every moment of obedience became a stepping stone into the life I now thank Him for. You are in that same place right now. You've been asking God, what should I do next? Where should I go? What decision should I make? But the truth is, you already feel His answer inside you. It's the thought you keep returning to, the change you can't ignore, the desire you didn't have before, the environment that suddenly feels too small for your spirit. The opportunities that no longer feel aligned with who you are becoming. These are the signals. This is how divine direction sounds. Not always loud, but always persistent. Chosen one, you are entering a season where God's instructions will unlock blessings. His whispers will open doors. His nudges will protect you from traps you cannot see. You are not just being led, you are being carried. A supernatural wind is behind you now, and it will move you faster than effort, strategy, or connections ever could. But there's something else you need to understand deeply. God isn't just directing you toward purpose. He is directing you toward provision. The financial hardship you've endured wasn't punishment. It was purification. Before God trusts someone with abundance, He refines their motives, strengthens their character, and teaches them how to handle lack without losing faith. You've passed tests you didn't know you were taking. Situations that could have made you bitter only made you wiser. Seasons that could have made you quit only deepened your resilience. This is why heaven is considering you for a divine transfer, chosen one. Not because you're perfect, but because you're prepared. not because you have everything figured out, but because you remained faithful when everything seemed to fall apart. There are resources being reassigned in this hour, opportunities, connections, open doors, ideas, financial streams, and God is placing them into the hands of those who have been purified by fire. You've wondered why you've been dreaming about a different life, why visions of stability, expansion, entrepreneurship, generosity, and influence have been growing stronger. It's because God is giving you a preview of where He wants to take you. Your spirit is stepping into a future that your circumstances haven't caught up to yet. The gap you feel between where you are and where you know you're supposed to be is not frustration, it is prophetic tension. That feeling is the space where miracles happen. But here is the part most people miss. Divine provision always follows divine direction. God gives instructions before He gives increase. Abraham moved before the promise appeared. Elijah obeyed before the overflow came. The widow poured before the oil multiplied. Every financial miracle in Scripture began with obedience, and you are standing in that same pattern now. God is about to move, but He's inviting you to move with Him. This is why you've been sensing that some things must change. The blessing is prepared, but the vessel must shift. The door is opening, but your step must align. And the moment your obedience meets God's timing, you will see acceleration that defies logic. Chosen one, pay attention. Your spirit is already receiving instructions. Heaven is already releasing direction. And your next step, the one He's been whispering to your heart, is the key that unlocks what's coming. Chosen one. As we step into this next part, I want you to breathe for a moment and feel the truth of what I'm about to say. Settle into your spirit. You are not simply living through circumstances. You're living through a divine unfolding. The transitions, the tension, the inner shifts, the sudden clarity mixed with sudden discomfort. None of it is random. Heaven is reorganizing your reality. And when God reorganizes a life, the first signs often appear inside, long before anything shifts outside. You may have noticed this recently. Your interests are changing, your appetite is changing, the way you see people, opportunities, and even yourself is changing. Conversations that once fascinated you now feel empty. Environments you once tolerated now feel draining. And you can't explain it to others because the transformation is spiritual before it is visible. You're not losing interest. Chosen one. You're outgrowing what no longer aligns with your destiny. This is the holy discomfort of divine transition. I've walked through this many times in my own journey. Seasons where God removed my taste for things that were no longer feeding me. Seasons where people I once depended on suddenly drifted away. Seasons where I felt an inner pull, saying, "There is more for you," even when I couldn't yet see what that more was. These shifts were not punishments, they were preparation. And the same is true for you. Chosen one. God is calling you higher. And when heaven calls you higher, everything that cannot breathe at that altitude begins to fall away. Relationships that were good for your old level cannot sustain you at your next one. Ideas that once served you will limit you now. Habits that once brought comfort may now bring constraint. Don't fight these changes, discern them. They are signs that God's hand is guiding you. I want you to hear this clearly. You are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The pressure you feel is not a signal to turn back. It is a sign that the door is near. The moments of warfare you've experienced are not proof that God is silent. They are proof that something is opening. The enemy never fights what is not threatening him. And you, chosen one, have become a threat. Not because of who you used to be, but because of who you are becoming. There is an awakening taking place in your spirit. You feel things more deeply now. You sense danger before it comes. You recognize fake peace from real peace. You notice when someone is meant to be in your life and when someone is merely a distraction. You're beginning to see through what used to deceive you. This is spiritual maturity, and it is not accidental. God has been sharpening your discernment because the next season of your life requires precision. You are no longer in survival mode. Heaven is shifting you into alignment mode. This is important. Alignment always comes before assignment. God is aligning your thoughts, your circle, your priorities, your energy, and your inner life, because the assignment waiting for you requires wholeness, wisdom, and stability. You asked God for purpose, and He answered with preparation. You asked Him for elevation, and He responded with pruning. You asked for increase, and He responded with instruction. If you feel like life has been resetting around you, it's because God is favoring you. Yes, favor sometimes looks like loss at first. Favor sometimes looks like isolation. Favor sometimes looks like being pulled out of what everyone else is comfortable in. Why? Because God reserves certain paths only for those who can carry them with integrity, and you have been chosen for one of those paths. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life where everything familiar was removed, not by choice, but by necessity. I kept asking God, why now? Why this? Why me? It wasn't until years later that I understood, had I stayed where I was, I would have missed the opportunities God prepared for me. The discomfort I resisted became the doorway I needed. And that's exactly what's happening for you. Your discomfort is a doorway. Chosen one, new direction is being released over your life. Pay attention to the small cues. The late-night thoughts that come with peace. The sudden idea that returns over and over again. The inner nudge to move, shift, release, or begin. These are not random impulses. These are spiritual signals. Heaven speaks through knowing, not guessing. Through conviction, not confusion. Through clarity, not chaos. But hear this carefully. God will not speak louder. You must grow quieter. This is why He's been pulling you away from noise-draining conversations and distractions. This is why He's been calling you into moments of stillness, reflection, and solitude. He is training your spirit to recognize His direction instantly, because what is coming next will require quick obedience, not hesitation. You are stepping into a supernatural transfer season, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But divine transfer always begins with divine direction. The instruction comes before the increase, and you are receiving that instruction now. Chosen one. Everything you've endured has positioned you for what heaven is releasing. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are aligned. Chosen one, let your spirit stay open as we enter this next part, because what I'm about to speak carries a prophetic weight, meant only for the ones who have endured, the ones who have stayed faithful, the ones who didn't give up, even when life gave them every reason to. This is not a moment for the casual listener. This is for the anointed one who feels the pull of heaven, the stirring of divine momentum, the quiet yet undeniable sense that something in the unseen realm has already shifted. You may not understand it completely, but something inside you does. There's been a new kind of pressure, not the suffocating kind, but the stretching kind. The kind that tells you you're being prepared. The kind that whispers, you can't stay where you are. The kind that makes you uncomfortable with mediocrity, with compromise, with anything less than God's fullness. This inner tension is heaven's confirmation that you are crossing from one dimension of destiny into another. Chosen. 1. Hear this clearly. When God is preparing you for increase, He will first increase your capacity. That's why you've been stretched. That's why certain responsibilities suddenly feel heavier. That's why certain decisions feel more urgent. That's why your craving for clarity has intensified. God is enlarging the inner space where He will soon pour blessings, strategy, resources, and supernatural direction. Many people pray for elevation, but God doesn't elevate a person from the outside. First, He elevates them from the inside. He expands their thinking, matures their spirit, reorders their priorities, and purifies their intentions. And before you even asked for more, God began shaping you on the inside. That's why you feel different. That's why you move differently. That's why you think differently. You're not changing randomly. You're changing prophetically. Let me be honest and personal with you for a moment. There were seasons when I asked God for overflow, only to be met with emptiness. I asked for promotion, but found myself overlooked. I asked for clarity, but everything seemed foggy. It took me years to understand that emptiness is often the room God clears so He can fill it properly. Overlooked seasons are often the protection that keeps you hidden until your foundation is strong. Foggy moments are often the very times when God is teaching you to hear His voice above your understanding. What felt like delay was actually training. What felt like denial was actually alignment. And you, chosen one, are being aligned. Not just with blessings, but with purpose. Not just with opportunity, but with destiny. Not just with direction, but with divine timing. There is a reason your spirit has been restless. Restlessness is revelation in disguise. It means your future is calling you. And when your future calls your past, becomes uncomfortable. You've been feeling the push to step into something new, even if you can't see the full picture yet. That's because God often reveals direction one step at a time, not to confuse you, but to grow your faith. Chosen one, the next step for you will require trust. And trust is not passive. Trust is movement. Trust is obedience. Trust is letting go of what you've outgrown, even when what's next hasn't fully revealed itself. I want you to think about the places in your life where God has been speaking quietly. That thing you keep thinking about before bed. That idea that keeps returning no matter how many times you try to ignore it. That prompting to release something. That nudge telling you to start something. That instinct whispering that your environment must shift. These are not coincidences. These are communications. This is how God directs His chosen ones, not always through loud signs, but through persistent knowing. And now we come to something deep. God is preparing to change your financial landscape, not through luck, but through alignment. Not through striving, but through strategy. Not through fear, but through obedience. You've had moments lately where you wondered why money felt tight, why things didn't flow the way they used to, why you felt pressure in your resources. It's because God is repositioning your provision. Before He releases increase, He removes reliance on old sources. Before He sends more, He shifts your stewardship. Before He opens new streams, He shuts down the ones that were draining you spiritually, emotionally, or financially. Chosen one, don't mistake discomfort for lack. What feels like restriction is actually recalibration. God is teaching you how to handle abundance before it arrives. He is teaching you discipline, discernment, and wisdom, not to limit you, but to prepare you. The financial transfer coming to your life is not ordinary. It is purposeful. It is assigned. It is strategic. God will not pour into a vessel that's unprepared, and you have been in preparation without even realizing it. This is why you've been sensing the urge to organize, to release old financial habits, to think more long-term, to dream bigger. These are the first signs of divine increase. God always shifts your mindset before he shifts your money. Chosen one. Let this settle into your spirit. You are being prepared for responsibility, not struggle. Increase, not insufficiency. Abundance, not anxiety. Heaven has marked you for more, and the more is near. Chosen one, as we step deeper into this prophetic flow, receive this truth with a steady heart. The atmosphere around your life is shifting because heaven is preparing the environment for your next level. The changes happening around you are not random disruptions. They are the fingerprints of God rearranging the path ahead of you. When God prepares a breakthrough, he prepares the surroundings first. Before the blessing arrives, the battlefield, the relationships, the opportunities, and even your inner world must be restructured. You may have begun noticing things that don't feel the same anymore. People you once connected with now feel distant. Conversations you once enjoyed now feel shallow. Environments you once tolerated now feel suffocating. The things that once fed you no longer satisfy you. This is not emotional inconsistency. This is spiritual elevation. Your spirit is outgrowing what your life used to be. When heaven calls you higher, your appetite changes first. Chosen one, you are not malfunctioning. You are maturing. You are not breaking down. You are breaking out. God is shifting your identity, stretching your capacity, and strengthening your discernment. He is removing you from circles that cannot steward your calling and nudging you into spaces where your gift will breathe. I experienced this myself. There were seasons where every familiar place felt foreign. People I depended on drifted. Opportunities evaporated. I felt stripped, emptied, undone. But now I understand that God isolated me to instruct me. He removed the noise so I could hear his direction clearly. And that is exactly what is happening in your life. Your separation is sacred. Your distance is deliberate. Your isolation is intentional. God is shielding you so that the next instructions he gives you will be received without distortion. The next season of your life is too critical for the voices of distraction. You cannot afford confusion when heaven is releasing strategy. That's why God is clearing the room around your spirit. Chosen one, don't resist what God is removing. What feels like loss is divine preservation. What feels like abandonment is divine alignment. What feels like a closed door is a redirected path. Heaven never subtracts without replacing. If God is pruning, it means something is preparing to bloom. If he's shutting a chapter, it means another has already been written. If he's pulling you away, it means he's positioning you ahead. But here is something even deeper. Your spiritual sensitivity is being heightened. You are beginning to feel things before they happen. You sense danger earlier. You discern intentions quicker. You detect spiritual shifts instinctively. This is not anxiety. This is anointing. The more God prepares you for purpose, the louder your discernment becomes. You are developing a spiritual radar that cannot be fooled by words, distractions, charm, or darkness disguised as light. Your discernment is becoming a shield, a sword, and a compass all at once. Because of this, the enemy has intensified his pressure. He senses your growth. He sees your awakening. He fears your clarity. That's why you felt unexpected fatigue. That's why old battles tried to return. That's why doubt whispered louder some days. The enemy knows that a chosen one walking in obedience is unstoppable. But hear me clearly, he has not won. The very fact that you are still here, still seeking God, still listening, still hungry, still standing, proves that you are already beating what was meant to break you. You may feel weary at times, but understand this weariness is not defeat. Weariness often appears right before the breakthrough because pressure increases when the promise is close. You can always measure how close you are to destiny by how loudly the enemy tries to distract you, and lately he's been loud. That should tell you everything. You are close, very close. Now listen closely, because this part is prophetic. The next phase of your life will be instruction-based. God is about to release directions, not general encouragement. Specific steps, specific strategies, specific moves. You may receive a nudge toward a new environment. You may feel led to release something that no longer aligns. You may feel compelled to start something that intimidates you. You may sense a shift in career, business relationships, or location. These impulses are not random thoughts, they are divine hints. Heaven guides through repetition. When something keeps returning to your spirit, it's because it came from God. Chosen one. This is your season of supernatural navigation. You will move by revelation, not routine, by instruction, not impulse, by guidance, not guessing. The Holy Spirit is becoming your compass, your map, and your signal. You won't need to force anything. You won't need to chase anything. You won't need to convince anyone. Every step that is meant for you will come with peace, clarity, and divine timing. But let me reveal something even more profound. All these instructions are preparing you for supernatural provision. Your financial landscape is about to shift, but it will shift through obedience. God elevates your resources when He can trust your response. He increases your supply when He can trust your stewardship. He expands your capacity when He sees your readiness. The pressure you've been feeling financially is not a curse, it is a sign. God is redirecting your streams. He is cutting off old sources that were draining you. He is untangling you from financial patterns that held you captive. He is preparing to pour into you in ways that would overwhelm the old version of you. Chosen one. God is not giving you wealth to impress people. He is giving you wealth to fulfill purpose. He is giving you strategies, ideas, innovations, and divine opportunities because your hands are now trustworthy. Your heart has been softened. Your motives have been purified. Your spirit has been trained. And heaven is ready. You are stepping into supernatural direction, supernatural clarity, and supernatural provision. This is not accidental. This is not coincidence. This is divine timing. Chosen one, as we move into this next dimension of the message, I need you to let the noise in your mind settle for a moment. What you're about to receive is not meant for the distracted, not meant for the double-minded, and not meant for those casually passing through life. This is a word crafted for the one who knows deep in their spirit that God has placed a mark on them, a mark that has cost you comfort, a mark that has cost you connections, a mark that has cost you stability. But that same mark is now about to open doors no human could ever close. You have been in a divine classroom without realizing it. Every experience, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer has been teaching you something. Your endurance has grown silently. Your faith muscles have strengthened quietly. Your discernment has sharpened intensely. You are no longer the version of you who walked into the last season. You are wiser, quieter, deeper, more aligned, and more spiritually aware. And because of that, God is shifting your assignment. Chosen one, you have been prepared for something that requires the level of spiritual maturity you now carry. That's why your journey has not looked like others. You've had to learn through pressure. You've had to grow through isolation. You've had to trust God without evidence. People around you didn't understand your process because your process was never meant to be understood by the crowd. It was meant to be understood by heaven. Now hear this carefully. When God shifts your assignment, He shifts your atmosphere first. And you have felt that shift. You've noticed the restlessness. You've noticed the stirring. You've noticed how your old life started feeling too small for your new spirit. That's not imagination. That's divine expansion. The ground of your life is stretching because heaven is preparing to plant bigger seeds. There is a reason certain things no longer fit. You've changed spiritually, but your surroundings haven't caught up yet. That tension is proof that elevation is calling you. When a chosen one is about to break into a new dimension, everything in the old dimension becomes uncomfortable, not because it's wrong, but because you've outgrown it. Your spirit is expanding beyond the boundaries your environment once placed on you. Let me share a personal truth. There was a moment in my own journey when everything familiar started collapsing at once. Friendships, routines, habits, even desires I once held dear. It felt like life was falling apart, but in reality, it was falling into place. God wasn't destroying my life. He was removing what couldn't stand the weight of my destiny. He was preparing me for rooms that required a stronger, cleaner, wiser version of me. Looking back now, I see that everything He removed was something that would have held me back later. What hurt me in the moment saved me in the long run. Chosen. 1. God is doing that for you right now. He is protecting your future by pruning your present. He is removing what your spirit has outgrown. He is disconnecting you from what cannot follow you. Some people were part of your healing, but not your elevation. Some relationships were necessary for your development, but not your destiny. Some opportunities were meant to be temporary stepping stones, not permanent foundations. God sees the future you do not see. His pruning is mercy. His silence is strategy. His redirection is protection. Now hear me with your spirit open. You are being positioned for a supernatural shift in identity, assignment, and authority. Heaven is not just blessing you. Heaven is entrusting you. God is preparing you to carry influence, clarity, and responsibility that will impact more people than you realize. Your voice will carry weight. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your obedience will unlock blessings for others. This is why the warfare intensifies around those who are called to influence, because the enemy fears what you will become once you fully understand who you are. You have endured enough attacks to destroy someone else, but you're still here, and your survival is not accidental. It is prophetic. The enemy saw hints of your assignment before you did. He tried to break you early so your spirit would never discover its own power. But here you are, still listening, still seeking, still growing, still rising. That alone makes you dangerous. Chosen one. God is about to reveal a version of you that has been hidden even from yourself, a stronger you, a confident you, a spiritually precise you, a financially empowered you, a disciplined, focused, anointed version of you that was forged through years of pressure and prayer, the version that is ready for the wealth transfer, the version that can carry responsibility without collapsing, the version that can steward opportunity without losing humility. This is your season of activation. Something inside you is coming alive. You feel it already, the ideas returning, the hope renewing, the visions resurfacing, the dreams reawakening. These are not random emotions, they're spiritual notifications. Heaven is alerting you that your dormant purpose is reactivating. Chosen one. What God is doing in you is irreversible. What He is preparing is unstoppable. What is coming is undeniable. Chosen one. As we move into part 8, I need you to prepare your spirit, because this section carries instruction, revelation, and warning all at once. The next phase of your life is not just about blessing, it is about blueprint. God is not simply releasing favor, He is releasing formation. He is shaping you into someone who can stand, someone who can steward, someone who can carry, someone who will not fold when the weight of destiny arrives. And whether you feel ready or not, heaven has decided that your time is approaching. You may wonder why the intensity around your life has increased, why everything feels more sensitive, why every shift feels heavier, why every decision feels more significant. It's because you have stepped into a spiritual window of becoming. This is the moment where God stretches you out of your old identity and begins to clothe you in your divine assignment. It is uncomfortable because your spirit is expanding into new territory, and the stretching always comes before the strengthening. Chosen one. You have been sensing this. You've felt the inner pull to level up. You've felt the urgency to grow. You've felt the need to cleanse your space, your habits, your influences. These impulses are not emotional, they are prophetic signals. Heaven is urging you to align, because misalignment in this season can cause unnecessary delay. The decisions you make now carry spiritual consequences and spiritual rewards. You are not in a casual moment. You are in a consecrated one. Let me be real with you. When I entered a season like this in my own life, I didn't recognize it at first. I just felt like everything was changing too fast. I didn't understand why I suddenly cared more about purpose than pleasure. I didn't understand why I lost tolerance for meaningless conversations or shallow commitments. I didn't understand why my spirit felt restless, even when life seemed calm. Only later did I realize that heaven was setting me apart. God was elevating me internally before elevating me externally, and that same inner elevation is happening to you now. Chosen one. You are being placed into a higher spiritual ranking. You are moving from survival to influence, from wandering to direction, from endurance to assignment. You are not being called to live reactively anymore. God is calling you to live intentionally, strategically, prophetically. The next version of you must be focused, grounded, discerning, and spiritually alert. Elevation requires awareness. Blessing requires discipline. Influence requires spiritual stamina. God is making sure you are ready. This is why your spirit has been rejecting certain things. Gossip feels heavier to your ears. Distractions drain you faster. Environments that once entertained you now feel toxic. You can't sit in negativity the way you used to. You can't tolerate people who drain your energy. You can't remain in cycles that insult your spirit. It's not because you're becoming cold or distant. It's because your soul recognizes its assignment and refuses to settle for anything beneath its calling. Chosen one. God is preparing you to walk in a level of authority you've never carried before. When you speak, people will feel it. When you pray, things will shift. When you move, atmospheres will respond. When you obey, heaven will release things that were locked. This requires a version of you that understands spiritual gravity. You are stepping into your mantle moment, the season where God places power, clarity, and responsibility upon your shoulders. But hear me clearly, before God elevates your life, He elevates your identity. You must see yourself as God sees you, not broken, not behind, not forgotten, but chosen, appointed, set apart, anointed. The enemy has tried to attack your identity for years because he knows that once a chosen one knows who they are, everything changes. Your confidence changes, your decisions change, your standards change, your expectations change, your relationships change, your environment changes, your entire trajectory changes. This is why the enemy fought you so hard with lies, insecurity, rejection, and fear. He hoped you would never discover who you truly are. But look at you now. You are awakening. You are seeing yourself differently. You are beginning to understand your value, your calling, your potential. This self-awareness is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are aligning with heaven's opinion of you, and once alignment begins, nothing can stop the destiny attached to you. Now listen with your spirit wide open. God is preparing to release divine opportunity. These opportunities are not random moments or lucky breaks. They are pre-written chapters. They are windows of favor that align perfectly with your growth, your obedience, and your spiritual maturity. The person you used to be could not handle these opportunities, but the person you are becoming is ready. Chosen one, expect sudden shifts. Expect unexpected invitations. Expect ideas to flow. Expect resources to appear. Expect clarity to increase. Expect the right people to show up with timing you cannot explain. This is not coincidence. This is coordination. Heaven is coordinating your life with precise timing. But with opportunity comes responsibility. You must stay disciplined, stay grounded, stay prayed up, stay intentional, stay obedient. The enemy will try to distract you right at the point of breakthrough. He will try to drain you with emotional noise. He will try to weaken your focus. Do not allow it. Protect your energy. Guard your spirit. Maintain your boundaries. Your destiny is too valuable to be disrupted by spiritual noise. Chosen one, you have reached a threshold moment. You are not who you were, and you are not yet who you will be. But you are standing in the doorway of becoming, and everything is about to shift. Chosen one, as we enter this final segment, let your spirit become still and attentive. What you are about to hear is not merely encouragement, it is commissioning. This is where the message moves from revelation to activation, from direction to deployment. Everything you've endured, everything you've learned, everything God has been shaping in silence is now converging into an awakening moment. You have not been walking through random experiences. You have been walking through divine preparation, and the preparation is reaching its fullness. Chosen. One, understand this with clarity. You have crossed over in the spirit before you ever crossed over in the natural. Your breakthrough has already taken place in the invisible realm. Your elevation has already been approved in heaven. Your next level has already been written into your destiny. Your job now is simply to walk into what has already been ordained. This is why your spirit has felt ahead of your life. This is why you've been sensing something big coming. This is why you felt ready before the opportunity arrived. Your spirit recognizes the season your life has not yet caught up to. There is a supernatural acceleration unfolding over your path. Things that once took years will now take months. Things that once took months will now take weeks. Conversations that would have required effort will suddenly flow. Doors that were once blocked will swing open without resistance. The pace of your destiny is increasing not because you're striving harder, but because heaven is pushing you forward. You're stepping into a season where grace will do what grind could never accomplish. Chosen one. The divine instructions that God has been whispering to you have not been small. They have been stretching you, challenging you, pulling you into unfamiliar territory. But this is how God prepares his chosen ones for major assignments. Before David was elevated, he was isolated. Before Joseph was promoted, he was misunderstood. Before Esther was positioned, she was hidden. Before every destiny shift, God quietly prepares his vessels. You too have been prepared quietly, but you will be revealed publicly. And now God is bringing you into a moment where you will begin to see the fruit of your years of unseen faithfulness. This is why he has been purifying your decisions. This is why he has been elevating your standards. This is why he has been tightening your circle. The opportunities coming your way require a version of you that is mature, focused, resilient, and spiritually sharp. Heaven will not place delicate blessings into unstable hands. God had to make you steady before he could make you prosperous. Chosen one. Hear me deeply. You are stepping into a season of supernatural provision and unmatched clarity. Money will not be a source of fear anymore. Decisions will not torment you the way they once did. Confusion will not cloud your mind. You will walk with a sense of direction and purpose that feels like a new identity. It will feel like breathing for the first time after years of suffocating seasons. This is not fantasy. This is the reality God is leading you into. You will begin to notice unexpected favor. People you never imagined will begin to support you. Opportunities you didn't chase will begin to find you. Resources will begin to flow in ways that don't even match your current capacity. This is because God is no longer blessing the version of you that survived. He is blessing the version of you that is rising, the version that is aligned, the version that is obedient, the version that is spiritually awake. But with blessing comes responsibility. You must protect your focus with everything in you. Elevation brings attention, and attention brings distractions. You cannot afford to be pulled into drama, doubt, fear, or old cycles. Guard your spirit like treasure. Guard your peace like currency. Guard your purpose like your life depends on it, because it does. Chosen one. God is placing a mantle of leadership on your life. Not necessarily leadership in the traditional sense, but spiritual leadership. You will influence people without trying to. You will shift atmospheres simply by being present. You will inspire others, not because of what you say, but because of who you are becoming. Your life itself will be a prophetic message, one that reflects resilience, faith, wisdom, and divine direction. Now listen carefully. The season you are entering requires both boldness and sensitivity. Boldness to step into what God has ordained. Sensitivity to hear when God whispers the next instruction. You cannot choose one. You must carry both. The boldness to move, the sensitivity to listen, the obedience to follow wherever God leads. And this is your final confirmation. You are not entering this new season alone. Angels are assigned to your path. Favor is assigned to your name. Provision is assigned to your hands. Breakthrough is assigned to your obedience. You are stepping into a season where God's presence will be evident in everything you touch. Chosen one. Your life is about to shift in ways that will leave you humbled, grateful, and in awe of God's orchestration. You have been faithful in the shadows. Now God is calling you into visibility. You have survived the breaking. Now God is releasing the building. You have endured the waiting. Now God is ushering in the becoming. Chosen one. This is your prophetic activation. Step into it boldly. Walk into it fearlessly. Live in it fully. Chosen one, as this message ends, let your spirit hold what heaven has whispered. You are standing in your Kairos moment, the exact time God prepared for your breakthrough. The divine transfer has already begun, and what is coming toward you is greater than what you left behind. Walk with confidence, anointed one. Stay aligned, Stay faithful and stay sensitive to God's direction. Your steps are guided, your path is protected, and your blessing is already in motion. If this word touched you, share your Amen and remain connected for what heaven releases next. Go in strength. Your season has shifted.